The next one, let's create a bihar. That's a line break. Label again. Now, enter key, input. Now this one, what should we make this? This one is going to be called, let me see, let me think of another one. Color. I think there's one called color. I hope I'm correct. If I'm not, well, you pardon me. Name, color, ID, color, everything color. That means the for of the label to be color. Choose your color. Choose your color. Oh my god, let's see. Oh, it works. Choose your color. See it? So right now, you can actually do this. Click, and then you choose a color. How cool is that? How cool is that? So if you want to design a website, for instance, and you don't know the color you want to use, you can actually quickly create this for yourself. Let's say you're using a graphics for yourself right now, using a graphics, and you want to choose a color, but you don't know the color that you want. You can quickly go to your text editor, Sublime Text or bracket. I'm using bracket right now. Quickly type this, input type color. There's no need of you putting ID or whatever, just put input type color. The only reason why we're putting name, I've told you, is because of submission. So that when the person submits it, it's going to carry the value of color, and it's going to now tell the person color, which color did he choose. So for instance, I chose blue. So that's how that works. The ID only works because of the for. You don't even need label. All you just need is this one. Only this. Bam, and you're there. Straight away. So look at this right now. If I click here, it triggers it because the label here has a for, while the input has an ID. The same, they match each other. So it triggers it. So let me even check here. This is HSL. This is X. Oh, good. Look at the hexadecimal. Then the name RGB, HSL, and then the hexadecimal. We're still going to do colors later. That's when we get to CSS. You also love that. You love that. Okay, so this is how input type for color works. Now, the next one is input is so large and so broad. Next one is, let me see, which one should we choose now? Let me choose URL input. Oh, I wrote input. Input. Okay, let's call it URL. Of course, you have to try to make sure that there's a name for it. Now that name, let's just say website. Let's just call it website. It doesn't have to be URL again. Then the ID. Save. Oh, come on, what's this? The ID. Let's make it URL so that we can have this easy to trigger it. URL. Then right here, let's now say website address. Website address. Let's do a line break here. Bihar tab. A line break there. By now, I'm sure you guys are now comfortable with coding. You're now so fast, right? I'm sure. Okay, look at this web address. So right now, www, so it accepts www.youtube.com. Okay, that's just it. All right, now there's something here. Let's do a line break. Bihar tab for the next one. Label. Okay, I don't need label for that. There's something, an input type here called submit. Okay, so let's look at that. I don't need label for that. Don't need label for submit. So let's just write input tab. In that situation, just write submit. You guys guess what's going to do? Now, first of all, name. Let's call it also submit. The reason why we're using name, as I've told you, is because we are posting it. That's if you want to post it, submit. Then there's no ID. There's no end of ID here. End of ID. No ID. Now save it because we're not creating a label. So no. The only reason why we're creating an ID attribute is because the label has a for attribute and they must be of the same value. Name submit. Now let's save it and let's see. Now, can someone guess? Can you guess? Can you guess? Can you guess? It's going to create a button, a submit button. So this is where you finally click on the submit. Then it's going to now go towards the post and it's going to submit it for you. Okay, so that's how the submit button works. But because it's a submit button, you have to give it a value. All right, you have to give it a value. Now the value can be okay. The value can be, what can the value be now? The value is what you place on it anyway. The value can be anything you place on it. It can also be submit. Okay. Now the reason why I quickly put submit, the reason why I quickly put submit is because of this. Let me show you this. Remember, this is required, right? I put an attribute here called required. That means that I want the person to make sure that the person, so now if I click on submit, see, please fill out this field. It's telling me I want to submit it, but I cannot submit it until you fill out this field. That's why required is important. So if you want somebody to ensure, like for instance, the day they want to book this appointment right now, I want them to fill it up. So right here also in the input here, I'll just write required. Save it. Now if I click on this, the first one first of all appears. So let me type in a name. Let's just say David. Then I click on submit. Okay. See, for the radio button, see, it says please select one of these options. See that? Because I already put required there. Anywhere you put required is going to tell you until the person finishes it. So it is even better for you now as a web designer to put it in terms of maybe like you put it like this name, then you put in brackets for people to know that it is in the label that it is required. Tell them it is required. That means they must type it in. So you put it like that, so it is so that people know that it is required. So for instance, if you want date of submission to be required, you put it in a bracket so the person will know that I need to fill it up. Or else, if the person clicks on submit, to ask the person, please fill out this field. So that's the reason for required. Required is a Boolean attribute. It doesn't have a value like this. It's a Boolean. It's either true or false. It is false if it's not there. If it is true, then you just put it as required. So that is how input works.